China has been traditionally the manufacturing hub for EVs.
Chinese companies have invested heavily in the development of electric vehicles.
What I'm understanding is India is now catching up. Am I correct in understanding that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what are some differences, similarities? What can we learn from them? What can we do better?
In our category, there's of course a lot to learn because China has been developing this product for almost last 15 years. While it's a new tech product, China built great hardwares, great tech in terms of hardware. But when it comes to software, they couldn't build it because the product was global. China is, I believe strongly, China is not great at building software layers on top of hardware layers, and that is where we come into play and we win. I believe our tech in India is
Sorry, I
quite
don't
evolving.
understand. Software layer on top of hardware layer?
So basically, building an embedded tech on your bike. So small problem like locking it remotely, putting a geofence around it. So small GPS problems. So China is great at building hardwares. When it comes to software, they can't host an app sitting in China, which is available, say, in Europe, US, India, anywhere else, right? While we can do it, we've got great software engineers. We already solved for that. So we solved for software first in the country, and now hardware is, I think, ever evolving. It is evolving so fast. We all are solving for it. In our category, I think we've already surpassed the tech which is available in China and learned from them and evolved much better in that. So world is looking at us today.
So what is some example of a thing that you've learned from China?
We've built what we've learned from China.
Yeah. Like what you've done better.
What we've done better is building a connected drivetrain, a connected mobile application with the bike, which solves for every feature I was talking about, right from locking to monitoring to calorie burn, all of that. The product was not new. The requirement was not new. Everyone in Europe, US is asking for this requirement. China, since it has mass produced, it has become a giant right now. It is very tough for any single consumer to navigate that and get it done from there. I think we are much more frugal, much more cumbersome, and we build for real use cases, which is happening for India, happening for US, happening for Europe, and that is where we solved it for. What we learned from China is, of course, a lot. The kind of culture they have in manufacturing, the kind of speed that they work at, the kind of infrastructure that they've developed. I think we as Indians still need to match the speed of China, but in terms of tech and software, I think we're way ahead from there. Yeah.
Got it. What are your learnings?
Yeah, I think we're playing a very different game. I think this whole thing we need to compete with China. I think it's a good geopolitical agenda. I think we need to get smart that on both demand and on product development, the game is different for India, right? For example, when we launched Ather, everyone talked about Chinese scooters and Chinese bikes, but they were actually competing to replace bicycles and factory workers taking these bicycles.
Yeah.
They were actually competing on that category. So very low speed, very low cost, very low quality product, right? And China accepts that. Right? India doesn't accept that. In India, when you had to launch a electric scooter, it had to compete with an Activa or a Yamaha or a Pulsar, right? So at a decent price point. So India's doesn't accept low quality products, right? India is actually fairly demanding with respect to quality that they want and also how much they're willing to pay. So it's sort of an over-constrained problem statement. And if a company is able to innovate and crack that precision point of the right price point and the right value, you will suddenly see an inflection point in India. And on the manufacturing side, we're so far behind manufacturing infrastructure and on commodities.
Yeah.
Cell manufacturing, we're very behind. Aluminum and just like in China's invested over 20, 30, 40 years behind vocational training, behind like it's okay to be a factory worker in China. Like people look up to that sort of job. In India, being a vocational trainer is like working in the factory is considered like, no, that's not what I want to do. Everyone wants to leave that. Everyone wants to join IT for some reason, right? So like over the last 30, 40 years, China has got this huge head start on fundamental manufacturing, right? And that's okay. What India can do better is build on top of that. Exactly what he said is buy your raw commodity hardware from China, but how do you put it together? For example, we buy cells from China, but we've learned how to put it together and deliver 15-minute charging, right? And that's a lot of the electronics and the software layers on top of that and how you integrate all of this. So I think the consumer insight in India is unique. The products India is seeking is very unique. And I think how you put it together for India has to be unique for you to build a moat. If you're just going to buy commodities from China and sell it here, the trading mentality won't work here.
Yep.
And I think the trading mentality is also what led to fires. But I think it's also not sustainable.
Totally believe in the fact that you don't need to reinvent the wheel and build something which China has built over the last 4 decades, right? You can always take that from them and build on top of it and build a much better product for suiting your use case. Don't need to replicate what's happening there.
So the make in India becomes a
Absolutely.
thing, right? Actually, it should be designed in India. Like
Mm.
make in China also, it's fine. It's not a bad idea. I mean, geopolitical problems aside, like it's okay to make it anywhere in the world. What does it matter, right? Like you gotta. I think the biggest value when Apple sells a iPhone, the biggest, it's manufactured in China.
Yeah.
But if you just do the value accreditation cycle, which is like where does the most of the value go when selling an iPhone? It's actually the person who owns the IP, owns the
Right.
design, owns the technology. So making in the world doesn't matter. I think you got to, and I think that's
But I
fantastic
think
because
that's also geopolitically getting aligned. India is getting a lot of opportunities that way. Like in our category, if we have to sell a bike in Europe, we pay up to 6% duties. If China has to sell, they say they pay up to 87% duties legally. So it's such a wide difference, right? So we get a head start if you want to enter these places. In US, it's the same. I think Joe Biden just announced that there's 100% tariffs being introduced for Chinese products in EV.
Friends, if you like this clip, then please go watch the entire episode and also subscribe to the channel for more such clips and episodes. Enjoy your life. Thank you very much.